Honourable members, the next speaker is the Honourable Dr. Vindhya Persaud. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support the motion of my colleague because I think in this modern age of convenience and technology, electricity is integral to everything. It is a necessity, and it is something that drives many other sectors. When we think of Guyana Power and Light, Inc., we understand that it continues to deliver unreliable electricity across the country. However, there is consistency because consumers have been plagued by consistent and widespread and unbearably long hours of power outage. We call them blackouts. Even the little children know what blackouts are. Aside from taking a toll on people's nerves, frustrating them, getting them angry enough to coin new epithets for GPL, the most popular being GPL, these blackouts are causing losses in productivity, in production, and the fluctuations in voltage continue to destroy appliances. Mr. Speaker, imagine someone who would have saved up to buy a new refrigerator, or a new microwave, or even a simple fan. Imagine them being hit by a power surge or a large power fluctuation and their appliance is destroyed. That is the story of many people across this country, Mr. Speaker. And in the face of all of that, GPL continues to offer little or no plausible explanation as to why these power outages or blackouts continue. Not only are they prolonged, they're unscheduled. And worse than the explanation as to why, there is no solution, no long-term plan and strategy to alleviate the suffering of people who have to, for many days, be without power. We can speak of the people on the Essequibo Coast, the people of Region 5, or we can speak from personal experience. Any one of us can say in the last few months and this month, you would have experienced at least 24, 48, and some of us even 72 hours of blackouts. I'm sure that resonates with people right here in the National Assembly. In my opinion, Mr. Speaker, we're definitely looking down a dark tunnel without light literally and figuratively in sight. Mr. Speaker, we remain in the dark here too because there are no answers to many questions. And I have quite a number of questions to ask this evening in this House. When we think of how we function as a country, we can divvy it up as the commercial sectors, we can divvy it up as domestic consumption of electricity. And when you think of the business entities, the commercial entities, what is a given in this country is that there must be redundant power. That forms part of any business's capital investment because power is not consistent. And when we think of the cost of an investment like that to the investor, right away it can be seen many investors will back away from the country because there is no consistent power supply. If we look at the small business enterprises, if we look at entrepreneurial spirit, that is also being strangled because of inconsistent power supply. But worse than that, inconsistency is one thing, but I think we are even now paying for power outages because now we are being taxed 14%, not 1%, not 2%, but 14%. When we look at the cost to businesses and commercial entities, not only is there a capital investment to set up all these alternative sources of power, backup power, but you also have to factor in maintenance, fuel, repairs, and replacements. The fallout is inconsistency in production for those who cannot afford that, loss of investment, and also inability to sustain all of this would result in cessation of businesses. Consistent and reliable power, Mr. Speaker, makes any country attractive to investors, either in that country or externally. And the failure to achieve that, and the failure to give this country, after 19 months in government, a tangible strategy to ameliorate this in this country, I cannot say anything more than bad decisions, bad management, bad governance, and an awful, awful 19 months of governance. In this situation, Mr. Speaker, we have to talk about alternative energy sources. Much has been said about wind farms. Some has been said on a Myla. But the reality is, Norconsult has advanced the Myla as the most viable option for alternative energy in this country. Will the government say what it plans to do with that report? Will the government say if it's going to act on that recommendation? Or is it going to just disregard that independent study? If we looked at Myla Falls, we would have seen that cost to the average taxpayer would have been reduced. Currently, we are paying some 19 cents per kilowatt hour. And that would have, with the introduction of a Myla, it would have gone down to about 12 cents in 12 years. And progressively, that cost would have been less and less to the consumer. Even in the face of unstable fuel prices, the benefits would have accrued from a Myla. And the truth is, if that was not voted down in this House, we would have seen some progress already. Even if we start now, we are looking at least until perhaps 2022, 2023 to see anything happen. But where is the concern for the average citizen? Where is the concern for the ordinary man? Where is the concern for the business sector and the commercial sector? I am not sure what the thoughts are, Mr. Speaker, but I do know that the people out there are frustrated, they're angry, and they want to see something done. Because these days, it's not fairy lights. It's long, long, long hours of blackout. Long, long hours of blackout. And when we think of the long, long hours of blackout, many of us will pick up the telephones and call for an explanation. What are we meant by? Sometimes no one answers the phone. Sometimes we're stonewalled. People don't know why there is a blackout. People tell you, well, you could not possibly be having a blackout, yet you are in this blackout for more than 24 hours. But Mr. Speaker, just as the citizens of this country, just as the people of this country have taken a stance on the parking meters, and I leave that there, one day they will take a stance on the electricity. Because everyone now has to pay 14% on their electricity once they spend more than $10,000. But I like to come to this House, and I like to do so with solid information. Well, if we have 188,000 customers of GPL, and we are told that only 20% of those customers are paying more than $10,000, I think the figures do not reflect accurately what's happening. Why do I say that, Mr. Speaker? Because I've been asking random people who live just about anywhere in the country. I've been asking them, how much do you pay for your electricity? Let me tell you some of the figures I've gotten. And I conducted that until just a few moments before I got up to speak. A carpenter on the east coast of Demerara, $12,000 to $15,000 a month. A hairdresser on the east bank of Demerara, $15,000. A farmer's representative on the east bank of Demerara, $18,000. No, I'm not making this up. A reporter right here in the House, more than $12,000. Are these people fabricating this, Mr. Speaker? Or are we refusing to accept what's happening in this country? And when I ask these people further, do you have air conditioning units? The answer is no.
We don't have.
When I ask these people, what appliances you have at home? Fans, television sets, microwaves. One. I have one. A television set, a microwave. Are we telling people in this modern age of convenience and technology that they should not be using these appliances? Are you telling them to temper their expectations and what they want to acquire in life? Because you have decided, that is the government, through GPL and through GRE, that they must pay a punitive tax of 14% on a necessity. Mr. Speaker, the ordinary consumer at home lives in a daily struggle to structure routines around blackout. We all know we've been late because when the lights go off, so does the water. We cannot iron our clothing. We all know that you have to get children ready to go to school. If you don't have power, how are you going to do this in a timely and efficient manner? Mr. Speaker, it's the real talk of the people out there, and they want this House to hear it. Mr. Speaker, not everyone can afford a generator or a solar panel or a backup power plan. Not everyone can do that. But even those who would have saved up or who would have wanted to do that, now those things are going to be taxed. So where does that leave them? A direct result of the VAT will be an increase in cost to the average customer. A direct result of VAT will be an increase in cost to the average customer. Now, let us look at businesses. If we say that the majority of the 20%, as was said in the press, of consumers who are paying over $10,000 are commercial enterprises and businesses, don't you think, Mr. Speaker, that 14% that they're now going to pay will be passed on to the consumer? So indirectly, you're going to feel the brunt of that, or that is the people of Guyana. When we look at the economy and how stagnant the economy is, businesses are struggling. Can they afford to subsume these costs? No, the answer is no. So who is going to pay for it? Every poor person, pensioner, single mother, you name it, we are going to face the brunt of it. I was listening to the Honorable Minister in the Ministry of Finance, Minister Sharma, and what he said left me nothing short of incredulous. However, I will say that he did get around to making a case for the opposition on VAT. And for that, I thank him for doing that. You said it would increase the costs, so even if you don't see it, you said it. So there must be something in there that you realize that the average person on the street will be affected by VAT on electricity. Mr. Speaker, the motion speaks of many, many things. And when we think of what the citizens of this country are facing when it comes to the myriad tax measures, the VAT on electricity and water, we are waiting with bated breaths to see what this government has to offer in terms of a long-term strategy. Mr. Speaker, we don't want gaffe. We want action, we want strategy, we want effective plans. This is what the country wants. The public wants to know, I want to know, what will be the projected income generated by VAT on electricity? And we understand that none of this is going directly to GPL, so the consumer will not even be benefiting from the things that they've put out from their pockets, because it goes directly to the government coffers. What measures will be put in place to alleviate our frustration with this horrible thing that is called blackout, that wrecks our day, makes us late, spoils an evening at home, deprives us of sleep because darkness is a perfect cover for crime. Why is it unscheduled? Or why are the blackouts unscheduled when last year there was no shortfall in electricity generation? Can we get an explanation for that? Mr. Speaker, we need answers. We need a proactive approach to this sector, and we need comprehensive programs and initiatives to tangibly lessen the hardships of people, attract investment, increase production and productivity. But for all this to happen, there must be vision. And vision can only be manifest in a long-term strategy. Clearly, this government is at sea when it comes to strategies, management, and prudent decisions. So I urge the government to initiate a consultative process nationally so that clarity and guidance can be given to have a sound strategy for this sector. Mr. Speaker, before I close, I just want to ask the question. We have noticed also, as it relates to GPL, we've noticed a shift away from Wärtsilä. There's a new company. The public wants to know, because all of this seems to be shrouded and clouded. Will this company be able to effectively manage as Wärtsilä did? Will this be a temporary arrangement? Will this company be sold? Mr. Speaker, now that Wärtsilä is not there, will GPL be asking Wärtsilä for spares? Will they have to pay more for these spares? Will they have to pay more for technical assistance from Wärtsilä? Will GPL be going to other companies for parts that may not have the lifetime or may not have the specifications required for the equipment that we currently have? And will this new company be able to provide comparative analyses and all of the things that an international company would have provided? Mr. Speaker, the country eagerly awaits something, anything, to stop the blackout situation. The country does not want 14% on electricity. The country does not want to have these prolonged periods of blackouts. The country wants to see an economy that can move forward, but it cannot do so with what is going on in this sector. Mr. Speaker, therefore, I would like to join my colleague, Bishop Edghill, and ask that the government unveil a long-term strategy for this sector through a national consultative process without further delay. Thank you.
I thank the honourable member for her statement.